Have you ever had that feeling, you know the one, where you're talking, you're explaining something you care about, but you can just see it on people's faces? You're not connecting. Your message just isn't landing. Well, today, we're going to dive into exactly why that happens, all through the incredible story of one man's journey to figure out how we, as humans, actually connect with each other. And boy, this quote from intercultural studies professor Tom Steffen, it just gets right to the heart of the whole thing, doesn't it? He's pointing to this huge disconnect, this puzzle that he ended up spending his entire life trying to solve. And right now, we're going to piece that puzzle together with him. So picture this. Our story starts in a village in the Philippines, surrounded by these absolutely breathtaking hand-carved rice terraces. They call them the stair steps to the sky. It's here that our guy, Tom Steffen, was invited to give a presentation to the Ifugao people. Now, he had prepared what he thought was this brilliant, logical, super systematic presentation. He had all his points lined up, everything was perfect. But the reaction he got? It was a complete and total disaster. Instead of nods and engagement, all he saw were these questioning faces, blank stares, and, as he put it, let's get out of here looks. His message completely missed the mark. You know, that spectacular failure sparked a question that would basically define the rest of his career. Doesn't everyone learn the way I do? He had this huge realization that the problem wasn't his audience, the problem was his approach. And that humbling moment, it kicked off a decades-long quest to understand how we really communicate. And that failure led him straight to his first massive discovery, a concept that, honestly, many of us who grew up with books and screens have almost completely forgotten about: the immense power of orality. So, what even is orality? Well, it's way more than just talking. It's this complete communication system that's all about being holistic, communal, and totally wrapped up in relationships. Think about it: proverbs, songs, rituals, and the big one, shared stories. It's a world where meaning is something you experience together, not something you just read off a screen. This new understanding made Steffen look at one of the most important texts in his world, the Bible, in a completely new way. And when he looked at it through this lens of orality, he found something that it completely floored him. He found that a huge chunk of it wasn't rules or abstract principles. How much, you ask? A whopping 55%. I mean, just look at this chart for a second. Over half of the Bible is made up of stories. And if you add in poetry, you're at 90%. All that systematic, propositional stuff that he thought was so important, that was only about 10% of the whole thing. He realized the main way truth was being communicated was through narrative. And this slide right here, this lays out the two completely different worldviews that were clashing. On one side, you have the literate mindset, right? That's what most of us learn in school. It's linear, rational, loves a good definition. But the oral mindset, it's holistic and relational. It values rich descriptions and loves to explore mystery. Steffen suddenly saw it. He'd been speaking a literate language to an oral audience. Okay, so if story is the master key that unlocks communication, then what exactly is a story? What are the nuts and bolts? What makes it tick? Turns out every single story you've ever heard or told is pretty much built on these 5 core pillars. You need a setting and a time to ground us in a world. You need a series of events to move things forward. You've got to have a central conflict that creates tension. And then finally, you need a resolution that changes things. It's this universal pattern that our brains are just wired to look for. But it is so much more than just a pattern. The legendary screenwriting guru Robert McKee puts it perfectly. Story is a metaphor for life. It's not just how we entertain ourselves, it's the main way our minds actually organize reality and make sense of this crazy world. And this leads us to a really crucial distinction, captured brilliantly by the psychologist Jerome Bruner. He said arguments convince us of a fact's truth, but stories convince us of its liveliness. And that points to 2 very different pathways into the human mind. So, on the one hand, you've got propositional logic. Its whole job is to prove truth with arguments, and it speaks directly to your head. But narrative logic? It's a different beast. It tries to capture what feels real and true. It surprises us by making us identify with characters, and it appeals to both the heart and the head. It gets your whole self involved. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean stories are anti-fact. Not at all. A great way to think of it is like this. Story is the ring, and the facts, the propositions, are the precious gems. The gems are valuable, for sure, but without the ring of a story to put them in, they have no context, no emotional home. They just get lost or forgotten. All right, so if the story is the vehicle that carries the message, what's the engine? What's the thing that actually powers it forward and makes us want to go along for the ride in the first place? So, what is the engine of a story? I mean, if you asked most people, they'd probably say it's the plot, right? The sequence of all the exciting stuff that happens. But the research points to something way more fundamental, something we connect with on an almost primal level. As the author Will Storrs says, it's people, not events, that we're naturally interested in. The real engine of any story is character. The plot only really exists to reveal who the characters are through the choices they make when they're under pressure. We are just hardwired to care about the struggles, the decisions, and the transformations of other people. And this right here, this brings it all home. This is the complete chain of connection. You see, it starts with the big picture environment of orality. The way that's expressed is through story. The vehicle for that story is characters. And what's at the very, very bottom, the foundation of it all? Relationships. This is how human connection gets built, from the ground up. So, that's the whole journey of discovery. But what does it all mean for us, right now? Well, based on everything Tom Steffen learned, we can start asking some really powerful questions about the way we communicate in our own lives. So just take a second and think about your own world, your job, your family, your friendships. Do you find yourself giving people these abstract definitions when what they're really hungry for is a rich, living description? Are you giving them a category when what they really, truly want is a character they can connect with? And here's another big one to chew on. Do you tend to rush in with these neat, tidy, settled conclusions when maybe what people actually need is the space to explore the mystery for themselves? A story invites us into a conversation, but sometimes we shut that conversation down with a quick answer and we rob the story of its power. Because at the end of the day, this whole thing isn't just about how we talk to other people. As the writer Grant Morrison says, we live in the stories we tell ourselves. Our whole understanding of the world, our identity, our hopes for the future, it is all shaped by the narratives that we build and live inside. And that brings us to the most important question of all. It's the big takeaway I want you to carry with you from this. So, what stories are you telling to the people around you? And maybe even more importantly, what stories are you telling to yourself?